Thank you for that. Let me begin with the session today. The idea behind the session today, or the talk that I'm addressing today, is that I've often come across over the past few years situation where I've doubted the fact of how education is given the importance that it is given, and still I see that there are so many people across the globe, across different cities, in your families, who have succeeded, who have made a mark in their life, even without a formal education. Now, the question that I want to ask you is, look at your father, look at your mother, look at the people that you're surrounded with, or the people who are into doing anything and they're doing it well. They are successful. Now, that makes me question, ask yourself, they didn't have that education. They didn't have that formal education like most of us are blessed with, me, you, and most of us here sitting here equally. And still, they are successful. Now, that's what I want you to think over the next 20, 25 minutes that I'm going to talk. Because I'm of the strong believer that, like a farmer who was tilling his land with the plow way back, that's where they were in, and they were still successful. Today, the challenge is a lot of us are given an opportunity of education like a tractor. Like a tractor, we have been given an opportunity where we can till our lands in a much better way and do it much more efficiently and in a much better way. But the challenge is education is just that tractor. It's not your skill through which you'll be able to drive that tractor. Now, here I'm going to share with you 7 elements, 7 skill sets, which are something which are dependent on you as an individual and how you are going to use it, or how are you going to develop that, which are being provided by education. So I'm not taking up the responsibility from the education system. All I'm saying is that the reason why there are so many people who are educated with a degree today and still are not able to succeed, it's because there's some element which is missing, and these are 7 elements that I'm going to share, which if you understand and build them for yourself, if you build them over a period of time, your success will be assured and will surely come through eventually. So let me begin with the 7 elements which I want to share, which education isn't responsible for, you yourself are responsible for. So first and foremost, let me begin with a short discussion that I want to have with all of you all. I need 4 volunteers. Who's going to come up? Can you raise your hand? I'm going to have a small discussion. Dereshwari, Sriram, 2 more. I'm waiting. I'll be having a short discussion, maybe a 2-minute discussion or something. Aishwarya, you're still thinking? Okay. The reason why I asked you that is not that I'm going to actually have a discussion. The reason why I asked you is that education will teach you communication. Education will teach you the knowledge which is required for you to talk while I'm calling you for those 2 minutes. It will teach you everything that is required and possible by the education. But thanks to Daneshwari and Sriram, you took the initiative. There are approximately 60 other people in the classroom in this meeting who are sitting there waiting for someone to be called upon, waiting for someone to tell them that you go take that initiative, you come up on the stage. How many times has it happened that in a classroom you have sat and the teacher has asked for volunteers and you have taken the stage volunteering? Because in a school system, in an education system, you will be given an opportunity, and there will be times when you'll have a teacher who will pull you up and make you do things. But when it comes to real life, the biggest challenge is that nobody is going to be bothered about your growth, your opportunities, and the way you are going to evolve. That's the reality of the real world. Education system will offer you opportunities. That's what the first point is. The most important thing that you have to understand is education will provide you opportunities only. The initiation is your responsibility. Now, when I was talking of initiation, what came to your mind? I'm not sure what he's going to ask to me. I'm not sure what topic he's going to discuss about. Will I make a fool of myself when I stand there and I can't answer to people? The fear which is there, do I have that knowledge to speak about what he's going to ask? But isn't everyone else in the same boat? Isn't everyone else in the same situation that you are in? And still, You were sitting there and not coming ahead, while someone else took the initiative, came forward, and said that, let me try. It's okay. I may not know the answers. I may not be able to speak. I may not be good at English. Or how will the speaker judge me with the based on English that I have, or how well I speak my English? Now that's the fear, that's a situation, that's a limitation that you have within that you have to overcome. And that is where your world of possibilities will open up because of education. It's like the tractor. Education is giving you the tractor, but you have to go sit on that tractor first. But if you say, I fear, I don't know what will happen with the tractor, I don't know how it will run, I don't know if I fall down, if I, what happens, I'm not sure. If that's the question that you have in your mind, that is where you will fail. While irrespective of every other situation, everyone begins from zero. They don't know. Everyone has a fear. Everyone thinks that they'll be laughed at if they are not able to deliver. But still, if you're able to go there, sit and start your journey, that's where initiation comes to the picture. So the first thing, initiation is your responsibility. Education will provide you with the opportunity only. That's where in the real world, the more ignited you are, the more self-driven you are, the higher is the chance for your success. Second, education will offer you knowledge. Now, the biggest challenge with knowledge is it's something which we are writing or appending in our mind. Now, if I ask you, if you have to read a book on maybe doing a surgery or something, you could well get the knowledge. You could very well get the knowledge which is required for performing a surgery. But if I ask you, go perform that surgery, will you do it? After reading a book on swimming, can you go and jump into the water and swim? Now, we are often limited in the education system. To a certain extent, we can encourage or build that skill set. But building the real skill set which is required for you to flourish and use all the knowledge that you're getting in the books and the interactions that you're having in the classrooms will be limited only to your mind space. What is required in the reality, in the real world, is a skill set of that knowledge. You have to build that skill set which is required of all the knowledge that you've gained or that you're writing your exams about and all those factors that you're learning in the school. The challenge is you have to start applying them as a skill set. And that's where the real challenge comes, because learning a book, if I ask you a simple question, who's the president of Zimbabwe today? Daneshwari, Sriram, Sridhar sir, who's the president of Zimbabwe? Don't worry, even I don't know. The reason I asked you that is, if I want an answer for that, I can go to Google right away. In a matter of 30 seconds, I have the answer with me. And that's how knowledge is today. We aren't in an era where the world and the world of knowledge was limited. Today, you have an opportunity to learn anything and everything from the world which is available to you. And that's what we're talking of. What difference does education make? When you have the resources of the same level of knowledge that you want, how is it that education is going to make a difference for you? The point is, we are limited to that knowledge. What we need is the real world skill sets through which you can perform and do those things. Now, if I ask you the same question, how do you swim? Can you go to Google, just read a few books or read a few tutorials and then jump into the water and do it? Now, that's where you have to focus on the skill development. So everything that you're learning in the books today, in the classrooms, everything that you're doing, understand one thing. Question and understand, how is it that I'm going to apply this as a skill set in the real world? Where is it that I'm going to use this? How is it that people are using this knowledge which I have? Because frankly, the differentiator between your engineering students, today there are 15 lakh engineering graduates who will know or have the same kind of knowledge that you have. The interviewer is tired because he's asking the same question to 500 people and he's getting the same answer. He's not looking at the answer of the knowledge part of it. He's looking at how are you going to use that knowledge? What challenges have you faced where this knowledge has come to your help? What is the skill set that you possess? That's what we're talking of when we talk of having the knowledge and moving to the skill set part. It takes time. It will take time. But the focus has to be on building that skill set which will help you in develop. And most important skill set that we need to develop today is not of what you're learning, but of your ability to learn. Frankly, I graduated from, or the last time I was on your side as a student was over 12 years back. And what I learned in a classroom, but for the basics, everything else is outdated. Everything else is outdated and is not relevant to what I'm doing today. What is relevant today is the challenges that I face, the new avenues which have opened up, the new world which has opened up. You are talking of the internet world, the digital era, all those things, they were not even as a subject to us while we were studying. But today, that is the reality, and that is the only reality. Nobody's talking of, do you know Java and basic programming? Because that's all there. They're talking about how can you learn something new after you've graduated, after 4 years of your engineering and whatever studies that you do. Then you come to a place where they're going to ask you, there's something new in the market, Python or something. Can you learn that? And that's where we as individuals need to understand the quality that is required, the skill which is required is the skill to learn something new. Your openness to learning something new is what is the most important skill. And that's where you will thrive, because you're not limited to the fact that I am aware, I have the knowledge, I need everything that I have. I have everything that I need. And that's where your ability to learn things, you as a learner, is the most important skill that is required by the industry today. That brings me to the next thing. When you talk of the education system, it will give you the marks, it will give you the degree. Another 1 year or 2 years, each one of you will be passing out and be talking about the degree that you have from this institution that you are in. But the important thing is it just the marks? Is it just the degree that you'll be holding which will be of worth? My point is, education will offer you the degree, offer you the education, offer you the learning. The important thing is, how are you learning those skills? As Albert Einstein beautifully said, everybody is a genius. Everybody is a genius. If you judge a fish, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will lead its entire life believing that it is stupid. The idea of education is to help you find yourself. The idea of education is to help you explore in what you're good and learn everything that is possible. Everyone's pace is different. Now, let me ask you, how fast did you learn walking? I have a 6-year-old who started walking at the age of 11 months. Some of you all might have started walking at the age of 15 months. If I ask you, how fast have you learned cycling? Some will answer maybe a matter of a week or so. And some will say, I fell down up until 1 month. The idea is each one's pace of learning is different. So if today you're finding a challenge in something, in any subject that you're learning, understand the idea that each one's pace of learning is different based on the exposure that you have, the orientation that you have, the different mindset that you have. Some people are left brain, some people are right brain. So some people will be good at creative things. I had someone heard singing a beautiful song. That's a beautiful talent that you have. I've seen someone who's an engineer but plays some cricket beautifully. So as an example, Anil Kumble or Rahul Dravid is an engineer by education. But still, they went on to do things which are something very different from what they did as a degree. The idea is, are you able to learn things? So based on your orientation, let me tell you, you can learn anything and everything, but at a different pace. At a different pace. That's the answer you need to understand. So education will offer you learning. The important thing is, how are you taking up and building that skill set as a learning? Fourth, and one of the most important things which I feel in today's world is about the fact of the people that you're surrounded with. Let me ask you, now that we're in a virtual world, this question is a little or outdated, I would say, but yes, once you come back to the real world, this is something which is very important. Do you know why people, the ones who are succeeding, are surrounded with people of diversity in every facet? You talk of gender, you talk of the religion, you talk of the culture that they come from, you talk of the place that they come from. Diverse in every sense. When you put yourself into a bucket which is diverse, when you put or surround yourself with people who are diverse and different from who you are, it gives an opportunity to expand the horizons of your thought. Now, if I ask you, in your classrooms or in your projects, Whom do you most often choose to sit with or choose as a project partner? If given a choice, most often we end up someone whom we are already comfortable with. Someone who's your friend or who's your relative or who's your neighbor or some connection where you find a comfort zone in the person whom you're choosing. But the biggest challenge is the real learning happens. The real learning happens when you are actually associating with someone who's heterogeneous, who's different from who you are. Because that's when you really build the skills of managing people who are different from you, managing opinions, get to learn a lot other things. So as an example, I've seen in my MBA classes, I've seen engineers club and stay together with engineers, or for that very basic thing that we have seen a lot in our education system, girls will be combining or just staying together with the girls, boys will be there with boys, or different elements like that where we find our similar person and we try to attach with them. But do you know the real learning will happen only if you actually associate with someone whom you don't know or who is different from you. That's where the real controversies, the real conversations will happen, wherein you can learn from them. And that's where your real development will happen. Because eventually, when you go into the real world, when you go into your jobs, when you go into the real world, where you will be facing people who are different from you, maybe your boss could be much more or could be stupid. You don't know. You just have to manage them. How do you manage if you have not ever had an exposure to manage stupid people? You could have a subordinate who isn't having the drive to do things, who's just laid back. How do you manage that? How do you motivate them to come up and do things which matter to you? Because eventually, if you're not able to manage people, how are you going to manage yourself? How are you going to manage your performance? Because individual talent will take you to a certain level. But eventually, for the world and for you to progress, it's a team, it's a collection of people that will make anything possible and take it forward. And that's where I always ask these people in the real world, I'm not sure now it is possible or not. Have your lunch with a stranger every day. So whenever your lunch breaks are there, you go and sit with your own friends, close friends, with whom you can chit chat and get to do the same things that you have been doing for a long time. Go meet a new person, get to know new people. And that's where you'll understand how different people are. And that's where the real learning will happen. Because that's where you'll know and you'll have broadened your horizon of thought to knowing what kind of people are there, what people do, and why they do. So the more people you meet, the more you learn. So all I would say in the education system, networking is your responsibility. The college is giving you diversity. But if you choose to just sit on that diversity and not do anything for these 4 years, you will be just as much what you are as you will be or you were at the start of the course. So diversity is being offered by your college in different facets. You talk of religion, you talk of rural background, you talk of a urban background, people with different thought process. Someone who's doing engineering right now could have had something like a different background in their schooling or plus two. And that's where you get to know different people, different challenges, and different learnings. So with that, let me move on to the next thing. One thing that I've always talked about is about a career. Building a career is something which is your responsibility. Today, when I was beginning with the session, I saw placements being discussed or placement information or the ranking being discussed. But let me tell you, the education might offer you a job. Education will offer you a job as a placement offer. But the important thing is career is not a 1 year or 2 year thing. We are talking of 25, 30 years over which you are going to spend your entire lifetime investing yourself into building a career. And that's where you have to understand the difference between career and a job. The college or the institution or education will offer you a job because that's where you begin with meeting your livelihood. But to build a career over a period of time, what you do and how you build yourself and how you start nurturing your own job and the career that you're involved in, how you're growing in that, that is what is your responsibility. Not much to talk here because you're still into the college world. This is something that I can talk to you all maybe after 2 years, 3 years, and that's what it will find more relevance to. And next thing is building your dream. I've so many times talked to students about this thing, because as a student, even I had this preconception that what I'm studying, what I'm doing as engineering or my BBM or my MBA, I have to find myself in that world. But unlike the world which was 20 years back, where the professions were limited to either a banker, an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, and you could be successful only if you choose these things, the world has changed. The world has changed because today there's an opportunity for every little minute element that you have an interest for, that you have a passion for. And that's where I tell to students, start working on what you're really passionate about. Experiment with different things where you never know what can ignite your passion. Today, after doing an MBA 12 years back, I have a lot of my friends whom I would like to share with you all. One person is by the name Shaindeep. He is alongside his job. He's a professional fashion photographer. There's a friend of mine named Rinal, who alongside his job again is a professional comic artist. He has that comic, he participates in Comic Con, and he has in his own name 2 or 3 books on comics. There's a friend who's Royston. I'm telling you, all these people are my batchmates from my MBA. So MBA in finance, after all that hard work and education, hardcore education, they are still not only pursuing education. There's a friend Royston who hosts in Karnataka. He's my batchmate from MBA. He hosts dance reality shows. We're talking of one more friend of named Swayam Purna, who's a cookbook author. She's written a book on recipes. There's another friend named Naveen Dhaka who's into the army today. There's another friend who's written a book recently on different elements. Why I'm sharing all these things with you is because your education isn't a form where you have to find your interest, your job, your career. What you need to start building is to understand yourself, what you're truly passionate about, and then eventually need not be after your college or engineering, you just get into doing something which may not pay you, may not help you make your bread and butter on a daily basis. Eventually, the idea is to help you find yourself. That's what I often tell to people. Education's purpose is to help you find yourself. So whatever you're interested in, start working and digging deep into that and see where you can find the space for that. Because today there's an open avenue for every little interest that you have. If something can ignite within you as a passion, you never know where that will be taking you eventually. And second last point that I want to share was integrity. Education will teach you the morals. How many of you all know the rules of the traffic on the road when you're going? Each one of you all is aware of the traffic rules. The point is, do you stop at that red signal? You're aware. Education has done its responsibility of giving you the morals of what is good, what is right, what is wrong. But the bigger challenge is, what are you doing about it? How are you believing in those things? The bigger problem is that we often think that at the back end, while I'm there at that red signal, nobody's seeing. Go. That's where, not that it happens with everyone, but that's where of the 1,000 people who think like that and go, there's one who's dead. And you are taking that chance. You never know when you are that one person of those 1,000 people. Or for that matter, anything that you do, integrity is something which is deep within, and that is what builds our self-image. That's what builds how we look at ourselves in the mirror. And that's where that person, if you can look up to, is the confidence that will give you throughout your life. Because you know what you are doing is right and true to your own self, not for accountability to anyone else or to answer anyone else outside, but who you are and how do you look up to yourself. Education will give you the morals. How you're living it is a choice that you're making. And finally, and the most important element of education is curiosity. Why did I say finally? How many points did I share up until now? How many points did I say I'll be sharing? If you can just unmute and speak. I said I'll be sharing. Okay, you can't unmute yourself, sir? Okay, The reason why I asked is that is because when I said finally, is because when I said I began with 7 points. And guess what? Integrity was the seventh point. If you're aware, if you're deep, if you're curious, you would have seen that I've already shared the 7 points. Then how is it that this eighth point is coming in? I'm not sharing a PPT here, but if there was a PPT, I would have shared this in a different way because PPT distracts us and limits our focus only to the screen and not to the person who's talking. The reason why I'm sharing this point is because there will always be there one more element of curiosity which you have to build. You have to build because the world is full of problems. The world is surrounded and filled with problems. And the answer you will find is in how curious you are to find that solution. Education has the answers. Today, if you go and ask someone, you talk to Professor Sridhar sir, or you talk to anyone else or any of your teacher, they will give you the answers. That's what education does. But they can't make you ask the questions. If you are having a doubt, if you are having something in your mind which is a question mark, or you're curious to understand why is it that happened, or what is it happening, or why is it does this operate in this fashion, if you are curious enough, you will get into this detail. You will find or feel curious or feel the need, the urge to go and question and ask. Because if this element isn't there, none of the other elements will be of any relevance, because it first begins with a question in your mind, the thought in your mind, and that's where curiosity is. You took off any invention in the world. If you talk of the apple falling on someone's head, wasn't the apple fallen on anyone else's head before that incident? It was. But there's only one person who began with that question, who thought of this question, and that's where history changed. You talk of any other example, you talk of all the problems that have been solved in the world today. Everyone was sitting on a problem, sitting on a problem. Nobody questioned why it was being done in a certain way. And that's where the world that you see today, the world that you see today is a result of those people who were curious enough to question and find an answer to things which matter. And like I said, today also we are faced with so many push questions, so many situations, so many problems. You have to find that curiosity to ask the right questions and you will find the answers. So with that, all I would say is the seven things or the eight things which I wanted to highlight you to. I'll just repeat them and close my talk here. You are responsible for your initiation. Education will only offer you opportunity. You are responsible for your skill development. Education will offer you the knowledge. You are responsible for your learning. Education will give you the marks and the degree. You are responsible for networking. Education will provide you diversity. You are responsible for your career. The job will be provided by education. You are responsible for your passion of about the journey for finding yourself. The education system will provide you an exposure where you can test these things. You are responsible for your integrity. Education will provide you the morals. And finally, you are responsible for your own curiosity. The education system will provide the answers. With that, I would like to sign off for the talk today. You all have been wonderful audience. Thank you, Sriram and Daneshwari, and in between somewhere who switched on the videos. I'm really honored and thank you for switching on your videos, because if I look back 10 years later, or if I'll go forward 10 years later, I'll be reviewing if I've given a session, I've given a personal session to Daneshwari and Sriram today. I would be remembering it in that ways. Thank you. And it's been an honor talking to you all. Hopefully, this talk ignites the relevance of who you are becoming and lessens the importance of what education is doing to you. Because all these while, all the time, we often ask the questions, what is the education system doing for us? What is it that education will do? My question is, what are you doing for yourself? Thank you. Over to you, Spurti.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was really inspiring. I would gladly call upon our beloved principal, Dr. Siddharamappa VT, sir, for presidential remarks.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, may I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Today chief guest Rahul Jain ji, a motivational speaker. Dr. Jayashree Rudgi madam, HOD E&C department. Dr. Sridhar Iyer, coordinator WAVECE. Learned colleagues from the E&C department, and my dear student friends from the EC department. It was nice listening to Jain ji. He has made it every points more clear. I hope that one, so the students, those who have listened to him, so may understand. So how to go ahead with the developing a career, because finally the career is very important, right? He has told the 7 points and he ends with a curiosity. So starting with the initiation, ends with a curiosity. So that really is wonderful, sir. And also he has made it very clear. So what is the meaning of the skill with the comparison with the swimming? So just he has asked one question to a few of the people. So who is the president of the Zimbabwe? So immediately the one can do right now is with the Google out. So it is not necessary to remember and can get it. So but if the same thing, if you read it in the Google or in any book, so you can't swim it. So that is a skill, even though by reading and all, so we are supposed to be do some practice and develop the skill, then only we can swim. Otherwise, like that only in education also. So education gives many things. So as he has told, knowledge it gives, so the diversity, exposure, and many other things it gives, but they are not the end. So they are the beginnings. So one is supposed to be understand at these points, whatever the Rahul has told, so remember forever and develop the career. So that is what I can say now. And even in fact, the innovations, this, that, everything. So the research, we are talking day-to-day activities, and whatever Rahul ji has told that one. So the education system, when it was about 30 years back, 20 years back, 10 years back. So if we compare, a lot of changes have been developed or taken place or took place. So automatically what will happen right now? Yesterday I saw that one. So the article by Narayan Murthy. So what he has told, so nature, whatever is happening in the nature by its own, so that we people are observing. So over a period of evaluation, so that we are talking about now from monkey to the man. Monkeys to the man, it doesn't happen over an year or 2 years or 3 years. So over an year of 1,000 years, 2,000 years, we don't know that the history. So this is just by observing what is happening in the nature. So the curiosity starts. So for example, suppose if I shout from my own strength from here, so I can reach about a half kilometer or maybe a 200 meters or 300 meters. So after that one, so my sound doesn't reach. So then the people think that one, so how I can reach the person who is sitting in Bangalore, or how we can talk to the person who is sitting in the other continent. So the thinking starts. So this is how the communication developed. Similarly, the flying. So therefore, so the keen observation in and around with the nature is very important. So like that, the human mind is a wonderful thing. So where is that when anything can be innovated and make it possible today. So my dear friends, actually the student friends and also the faculty members. So please look into all these kind of things, unless otherwise we are not observing keenly and we are not listening properly. We are not putting our sincere efforts to develop our career, we cannot achieve anything. So just by simply, he has told that one, so the marks, so marks doesn't give anything, but you have to be develop the skill. So like that, all the 7 fundamental principles to build a wonderful career. Definitely, sir, I fully agree with you, whatever you have said. And it was nice hearing you for your, the motivational talk to our students. And I heard that one, so you are busy. And that is why, so they have kept at 9:30. I don't want to speak at this juncture too much. So please keep in touch with us, and also we'll invite you for our the college. So if this pandemic is over, so physically you can visit our college and speak directly to our faculty and the students of even other branches. So with this note, so I can conclude my speech. Wish you all the best. And also I congratulate the new office bearers of the WAVECE. So we are looking forward that one to go ahead with the lot many activities which can help in turn to the students community. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that, sir. It'll be an honor to be coming there physically and talking right in front of you all. That's a world that I've been missing for the last 10 months now, because I am a stage person. I am a person who wish to stand there. Luckily, there we won't have placards with people saying their name is this. I'll be able to see the people's face and talk to them, because every time that happens, the real learning happens in that phase, and it's different.